Hello and welcome to Voices of Parenting podcast. I am so glad you're here. My name is Mussi Diskin. I am an advanced nurtured heart approach trainer. I am a parenting coach. I am also an inner wealth coach, which means that I help people rediscover and connect to the people that they truly were all along, but may have gotten forgotten along the way. So to find out more about me and what I offer, you can check out mussidiskin.com, contact me through there, respond to this podcast, find me on social media. I would love to connect and I would love to hear your feedback. To sponsor a Voices of Parenting podcast episode, please reach out to energizinghearts@gmail.com. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. So today, I have one of my not oldest, one of my, how do you say it? Not old. You're not old, but my longest clients and students, Joyce, who has been with me from like right after I got certified. She was the first one to hire me one-on-one to do a 6-hour course together. And she hasn't looked back. And it's been fantastic watching how she has taken her own nurtured heart to her family and then also to the world, to the Spanish speakers out there. She's doing classes and coaching and incredible things. So I'm so appreciative that you're here, Joyce, finally. Even though your first language is Spanish, you're being so brave. And I would love to hear a little bit of your story. So, Joyce, I would love for the audience to hear your story of what it was like before Nurtured Heart and what it is that intrigued you that made you even want to step into something new and different in the first place.
Yeah. So, my name is Joyce. I'm from Panama, originally born in Colombia, and before COVID, right? We forgot that there was a before. I had two kids. I think at the time they were 4 and maybe 2, or 3 and 1-ish. I was pregnant, and my pregnancy wasn't going great. My husband was on a trip, and I was just like at wit's end. For me, being a mom is the most important thing in the world. Being a mom the right way, the way I thought I wanted to be a mom. I remember growing up having this booklet of the things that I signed my parents that I wanted to do and not to do when I was going to be the parent. That like mysteriously disappeared. But I'm glad it did, because it's no one can really prepare you to be a mom, I think. So fast forward, here I am expecting two little kids, not having the pregnancy I was hoping for. And my kid, my 4-year-old at the time, was not listening to me, was not doing what he was supposed to do. I was just at wit's end. I wasn't in a great place emotionally. And I was like being very harsh on him. I was just like, sometimes I would hit him, sometimes I would scream at him. I remember the second I did that, I just felt so bad, so guilty. I was spiraling out of control. And one day, my son's teacher came up to me and said, "What's going on with your kid? He's being like aggressive to other kids. He's hitting other kids. He wasn't like this." And like it hit me right in the heart. I just broke down with the teacher. I said, "I'm so sorry. It's not his fault. I'm just going through something so hard right now." And she's like, "Don't worry." Like, she was so understanding. And at that day, I decided, like, I need help. My kids shouldn't pay for my broken plates. Um, and then I remember that Mussi had talked about this approach, which sounded too fluffy for me. I'm not fluffy. I like order, discipline. And so I reached out to Mussi. I said, "Mussi, I'm not sure if this is for me. I don't want to commit. Like, it's a lot of money." She's like, "What if we do an intro in your house, open to the public, and you see if this works for you or not?" So we did. She came to my house. She like opened this up to the public. I remember being back and forth between my kids and listening to the class. And oh, by the way, I lost the pregnancy. It just ended in a miscarriage. So just things weren't flowing. And when you know that they're not flowing, a change needs to happen. So I listened to Mussi's intro and I got completely hooked. It was just like magic. Everything that I wanted for my kids was in that introduction. The self-esteem, the not shouting, the things working without you being so like strict and disciplined. I said, okay, let's do this. And we started the course with Mussi, and within 2 weeks, I remember the teacher coming up to me and saying, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what it is, but your kid, he's just much more confident. He's stopped hitting other kids. I saw him in gym class trying things that were scary for him before, and I was just beaming. I couldn't get enough of this. I was meeting with Mussi. I ended up taking her other 6 week course, got certified, recertified again in Mussi's CTI, which, by the way, whoever's listening to this, you have to come to Mussi's CTI. It's something you need to do in your bucket list. It's just life changing. And so after I started implementing this in the house and seeing such a change in my house, in myself, in my kids, like I had my mother-in-law come up to me and say, I don't know what you're doing, but like this kid, your house, it's just amazing. I said, okay, now I have a responsibility. I remember saying this to myself. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes. I'm not a perfect mom. My house is not perfect, but I have a responsibility to help other moms that probably are in the same situation that I was in and that I'm still in, maybe sometimes. But now I approach it with a different perspective. And so I started um, introducing this to the people, to the world, to the moms in my life. And then they talk to other moms and they talk to other moms, and just getting the messages of like, Joyce, this is working in my house. Things are changing. And just moms being so grateful that I said, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it just fills your life up so much. My kids, I feel, are having the best version of myself. Even when I'm not at the best version of myself, I don't feel guilty anymore. I don't feel bad about myself. I know that I'm doing the best that I can, and that my kids are growing in an inner wealth, healthy building home. And that's thanks to Mussi. Thanks to you, Mussi. You should own this greatness. And know that every other house can achieve this as well. I've been very, very blessed to be able to give this to over 140 moms, mix of Spanish and English. And again, I used to not say this, but now I say it proudly. I'm not a perfect mom. I do scream at my kids still. Things go out of control sometimes, but I know what to do. I know how to manage, and I don't beat myself up for it. Um, and I think that was the biggest gift that Nurture Heart gave me. So, yeah.
Ah, I'm so emotional. That was so beautiful. I had chills like at some parts of what you were saying, and the commitment, first of all, to the mother, like being that mother, and that motherhood is the most important thing too, and the way you took the feedback from the teacher um so automatically, like, wow, it's time for me to look at me, it's time for me to do something, and the openness to try whatever was available to you. Like, you had heard about this thing that didn't even sound like something you would like, and yet it was there, so you were gonna try it. I don't know, just you're a super super mama, and those kids are so lucky to have you. And I love how you can just say you're not a perfect mom. And I'm just thinking, as you're talking, I'm thinking about my morning this morning and how hard it was. I actually sat outside the preschool after I dropped off first my elementary kids and then the preschool, and just like had a good cry in my car and then came home. Like, that was this morning. And as I was driving home, I was like trying to do some breathing and like feel, what my greatness is and what I want to like own for the day for myself. And I was just like back to gentleness. Like, I just want to be gentle with myself. I just want to be understanding and compassionate of myself. That's it. That's the greatness. That's it. Like, nothing, no big transformations. And I'm going to be this with my kids and that with my kids. Like, I'm just going to be understanding for myself because life is hard sometimes. And I love that you can say that you're not a perfect mom and say that you don't feel guilty about it and that you don't, it's not like the grade or the measuring stick of your parenting, and that you can see the bigger picture and what you're giving to your kids. I guess my follow-up question for you, I have two, but the first one would be, what would you say if like you could narrow it down, and maybe you can't, but narrow it down to like one thing or maybe two things that were the real like shift or like light bulb for you, epiphany from the before and after? And it sounds like you might have even heard it in the introduction. Um, but you know, you mentioned things that you heard that you wanted for your family, the not yelling, the self-esteem. Um, but in practical application for that, like from the way you were parenting before, or from the view of parenting that you had, what shifted to like empower you to be able to change things?
Okay.
What was the biggest thing that jumped out at you from Nurtured Heart that
Right.
you took?
So aside from the self-esteem and inner wealth building, which is the number one tool we as parents can give kids to face the world, the fact that a lot of good things were happening in my house and I wasn't noticing them was the biggest idea that I think I got. Was like, oh, when bad things are not happening, that's as good as when good things are happening. And how amazing it is that throughout the day, there's so much more of the good things happening and or not bad things happening than actual bad things happening. Like my kid actually doesn't hit for most of the day. Sometimes he hits, but most of the day he's not hitting. Sometimes he doesn't want to do what I say, but most of the times he does. And I never noticed that before the approach. In my head, they were stubborn little brats that don't do what I say, that are not obedient. And then, oh, but it's not true. It's not true. And then I think the other thing that um, came up for me was that we celebrate who they are. We celebrate their intensity. What they bring to the table is actually perfect. It's a perfect fit for their place in the world. Again, when I say this, it's so true. We want obedient, dependent, and obedient, independent kids, but we want risk takers and independent adults. You can't raise kids to be robots and then expect them to be the most ambitious person in the world. It's not how it is. And once you turn off that switch, that's their fire, to turn it back on, it's very, very hard. If throughout many years we were turning it off. So when I realized that, oh, I have a permission to let my kid be wild and scream and jump, obviously under the right circumstances, as long as he's not breaking any rules, was just so empowering. Wow, like, okay, we can all be who we are and still not break the rules. And if there's a rule that's been broken, I don't have to fight with them. It it doesn't make me a bad mom to not correct my kids the way I thought they needed to be corrected. Because it's so much pressure. Society makes us believe that if we don't discipline our kids, they will like become crazy creatures in the world. And I think Nurture Heart showed me that that's not true. It's really, really not true. If we celebrate who they are and we make space for who they are, again, without breaking rules and society norms, then they feel more comfortable with who they are and they like tone it down when it needs to be toned down and amplify it when it needs amplification. So, yeah, definitely those were two things that stood out for me the most.
Oh, that's so gorgeous, and so I think so practical also for the audience to hear. Just yeah, to reflect, and even on our own parenting, like you were saying about your kids, but the same was probably true for you, that you weren't hitting your kids all the time and you weren't yelling at your kids all the time, even though you were going through a really rough pregnancy and even though your husband was on a trip. Like to see that also for ourselves, that this isn't the only truth. And yeah, it's a beautiful, like such a beautiful mindset to live in, that our kids are who they're meant to be and we get to create space for that and celebrate it and watch it unfold. Um, my next question would be, what was most challenging for you in implementing? Like once you were inspired, you were excited, you were doing it, what came up that was like the most challenging for you in actually implementing it?
Yeah. So, for whoever knows this approach, it's based on three stands. And the first stand is absolutely no, which means we don't give energy to negativity. What does that look like? So, if my kid is breaking a rule and is going on this like rampage, not giving energy to negativity is very different than ignoring. You guys have to see us for that. But not giving energy to negativity looks like I'm not focusing on the negativity that's happening. Can I find any greatness I can relate to? I don't need to say it out loud. I don't need to look at you in the eye. I don't need to lecture you. Like, I trust that you can figure this out on your own. If I just give you a cue of the rule that you're breaking in one simple word, that's reset. But not even giving energy to negativity, I think to this day still my biggest challenge in me and in my kids. Because once you see your kid messing up, the first thing that crosses your mind is, oh no, I'm doing this wrong. Why is this kid behaving like this? It's probably my fault. I'm raising an animal. That's why he feels insecure. I don't have a secure attachment. I'm not being clear, blah blah blah. And like saying like, no energy to this negative thought that I'm having. It's there. There's fear. But I don't have to make it bigger. I don't have to water it. Because if I water it, it will grow. And learning to do that while the rampage is going on is hard. And definitely if we are not in a reset place and if we are not in a calm state, it's harder to do that with our kids, which in the moment they want an anchor to lean on. And so understanding that I need to be calm within myself to be calm for my kid is still the hardest thing for me because I'm a reactive person. Because I like acting, I like fixing, I like to solve problems and things and try to make things better. That's my nature. So just stopping for a moment and being like, nope, I don't need to engage in right now. Not with my negative part of, not the negative, but not that voice in myself that's making me be doubtful of my parenting. I know what I'm doing. I got this. But also with the part of my kid that decided to break the rule. That's not who he is. It's like putting on a costume. Let's say someone walks into your door and sees you like screaming at your kids. They just got a bad moment of you. It's not fair for them to say that now you're a crazy mom. They define you based on that moment. It's not fair. So it's not fair for me also to see my kid as a bad kid just because he had a bad moment and he broke a rule and not engaging with that negativity. It's the most difficult thing. But once we know how to manage that, it shows them that, oh, my mom's not scared of me. She's not trying to fix me. Okay, maybe I don't need to do this anymore to connect with her. There's no point in doing this anymore. And so it's a work in progress, but there's definitely been um, changes and progress in my stand one.
Can you give us some tips or tricks, or maybe they're not even like a practical in the moment tip or trick, but perspective that's helped you with that?
Yes, definitely. So I like biology. I'm sure there's people that are going to hear this that have careers in biology, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But when we are in this fight or flight mode, we have a lot of adrenaline in our body, cortisol, the stress hormone. Our prefrontal part of the brain blocks completely. We cannot access it. We cannot make rational decisions. And it makes sense. Let's say you're driving in your car and a car like kind of tries to smash into you. You need to think. You can't think. You need to act. Like, should I turn left, right? No, no, no. You need to steer that wheel and save your life. So thank God for that animalistic limbic part of our brain. We need that. But when my kid is breaking a rule or like doing something that he's not supposed to, convincing my body that I'm not in danger helps me calm down. So being like, okay, it's not an emergency right now. I'm okay. He's okay. And the house is not burning down. This is my sentence. I say, the house is not burning down. How crazy would it be if, God forbid, the house was burning down and my kid was breaking the rule? But the very fact that the house is not burning down helps my body relax, access my prefrontal cortex, and be like, okay, what needs to happen right now? I see my kid with a baseball bat about to beat my other kid. I can just come and take the bat away from him. Now he doesn't have the bat anymore. Okay, I can do that. So, yeah, so just understanding that it's not an emergency helps our body regulate chemically to be able to access what we need in the moment.
That's a powerful tool. It sounds like narrating really a lot of like giving your body the facts. Like, let's look around. What's actually happening? Okay, I'm feeling this. They're doing this. That's what's happening. And it's kind of like, for those that know Nurtured Heart, the act of recognition, where we're just describing what we see, and just it grounds everyone and brings everyone together. I love that. And thanks for the reminder, because I want to do that more often. I know that it helps me so much to just narrate. And it helps me so much to narrate out loud, like whether or not the kids are going to hear me or it's going to be, help anyone else. Like, just getting it outside of me makes it so much more real. Like, okay, the house is not burning down, like just really out loud. Okay, Joyce, this has been fantastic. There have been so many beautiful nuggets of wisdom and practical application pieces here. Thank you for coming on. I would like the audience to know how to reach out to you if they would like to connect with you. What do you have available? What can they expect, and how can they find you?
Okay, so I have an Instagram account that's called Building Up Kids. And the best way really to reach me is through WhatsApp. I'm kind of an open book. So I can put that in the description, my WhatsApp number. And yeah, just feel free with questions or concerns or comments. I'd love to hear from everyone. I love giving the course in Spanglish, but I can do it in full Spanish and full English. And yeah, thank you so much, Mussi, for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Okay, go find her, guys. In the description below, you'll find her number. And thank you for listening. Hey, wait, don't go yet. Take a minute to find the beautiful quality that you have, that you appreciate about yourself.